I'm Shel Wagner-Rasch.
I'm Justin Rasch.
And we are
Stunt Puppet Pictures.
Hey everyone, I'm Josh Graham. I'm brand manager for Masters of the Universe.
I am a huge fan of Masters of the Universe, MOTU, and I grew up watching it, I grew up playing with it. It was the perfect age to kind of catch that barbarian craze that was happening back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Growing up, me and my older brother watched a lot of Saturday morning cartoons, and He-Man was definitely one of the tops for us.
I did watch He-Man when I was a kid. I remember just, once school let out, just running home as fast as I can to try to catch that intro.
I had never seen figures that looked like that. That's one of the things I loved about them. They were these ridiculously buff, really fun names for all these weirdo characters. And it just, stole my heart. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
I would bring my characters, they would bring their figures, and then together, we would have like this awesome world, of these collected figures, and then we would just play like endlessly.
I remember when we started this brand and we relaunched, we added this articulation, we updated some designs and stuff like that on the product side, but our goal at the end of the day was we wanted your figures to do what you imagined they could do when you were a kid. So I actually had a friend who had worked with them previously for some stuff they'd done in video games. He shared the work with me and I saw it for the first time and I was blown away. The level of detail that they brought into their work was sensational.
We focus on stop motion animation. Now we're working on...
Yes, toys have been very big for our company, and for me as a toy lover, this has been a match made in heaven.
I absolutely fell in love with their work when I saw that first video, and I recall He-Man does a backflip and he lands and you could see the dust come out from his landing.
After I watched the first He-Man video, I was just amazed and so happy to have them involved with our brand.
The magic that came out of this really was amazing.
When I saw that video for the first time, I thought it was just super cool just seeing that.
It was action-packed, it was fun, it was funny.
Taking me back to my childhood when I was playing with the He-Man toys, and then just all those funny voices that you would create, or that you would give your figures.
Castle Grayskull will be mine!
Not as long as I got my powers, or... Huh? Where's my sword?
My dad also, he would see me in the backyard playing with my figures. He would join me and we would both play with them.
It had that piece that kind of pulled on the heartstrings a little bit, that made you remember what it was like being a kid playing with toys.
I got the feels, right? Because it's passing the sword to a new generation, not only for the fans from generation to generation, but even on our side, all the guys that started Masters back in the 80s, it kind of felt like, we're the new ambassadors of this brand.
So how do we make our stories?
So Mattel will give us characters to work with and a theme, and then we will create a few different story ideas to pitch to them. And once they sign off on one of the ideas, then we start making an animatic so we can work out all of our camera angles and kind of choreograph the overall version of the short.
And for those of you that don't know what an animatic is, it's basically a movie with real cuts and real angles and choices that are going to illustrate the story. So we're able to show that with Mattel, a figure-based animatic, and then we're also able to use that as the basis for when we go down to our main studio where we actually act out all of the action.
What stood out to me about their work is just the fluidity of their puppets and how they articulate the action figures to make it look real. The choreography is amazing. They just move so naturally how any actor in a film would. And what I find amazing is that they actually act out the choreography. And I think that really shows when the figures are fighting each other, because it just looks like an action film, right? Choreographed by real actors.
We really like to choreograph our shorts. So I have a background in choreography and Justin has a background in stunts, and we met playing with each other. We like to play. Yeah. Moving is really important to us. So the choreography is not the challenge for us. That's the fun part, where we just get to go down and choose your weapon.
Choreographing anything from storyboards to camera movement to everything we do at Stunt Puppet Pictures, right? Like that's our name. It's like action choreography or action filmmaking. We have so much inspiration in things we physically do, from martial arts, rock climbing, you know, skateboarding, BMX, all the stuff that we do, parkour, and we incorporate it into our films. And then it's really exciting to not only have us involved, but we're getting our neighbors involved. We're getting like friends that we find delivering mail, anyone we can help
Will you
us.
just put on this blue shirt and be Skeletor for a moment? We need
You're a
someone to
new
push
employee. Come on, you're Trapjaw. Let's do this, right? Like, it's really fun to get everyone involved because it's play, right? And that's one of the most exciting things about, for me as an animator, filmmaker, is we play when we make our films. We're playing when we're designing our films. I'm literally playing with MOTU toys. Like, it's an incredible gift, and I feel super grateful. And it's hard work. Don't let us. It's hard work.
We actually
but we
enjoy
really
hard
enjoy
work.
it. Yes. And while we act out all of the action, we're able to get a much better view of how long it's going to take, you know, seconds-wise to animate. What the action is going to be is much easier to communicate with Mattel than just the figures going clash, clash, or something like that.
They need to really sign off on our animatic so that once we start animating, we can animate straight through. There's not time generally to go back and change.
Yeah, it's a pretty high stakes field of animation as far as like what you get is kind of what you get. And the more clear we are at communicating what our intentions are for the film and how it's going to feel by doing it in live action, the clearer everybody is on what we're going to get.
Seeing these new figures that we designed coming to life in these Stunt Puppet videos are amazing. They really show off the articulation, the updates that we've made, what our figures can really do.
I've seen how they take the artwork from the packaging, you know, and the thing is that with packaging, you know, we just create this moment, this one moment in time, right? But it seems like Stunt Puppets, what they do is they take that one moment and then they just bring it to life.
You know, the world of Eternia is so vast. There's so many settings, there's so many battlegrounds and places to explore. I think Stunt Puppets did a really amazing job kind of going to different places. We see dungeons, we see Snake Mountain.
Here's an example of a finished set. The camera's all set up for our first shot, so you're getting a sneak peek of our next short here. Looks like Skeletor is up to no good. He asked me if I would make some bricks for the background, and I made some bricks. I'm like, well, what if I put a building? And then what if I made a little sidewalk? And what would make a good road? And my puzzle brain got so fired up that now I make sets.
Now she can make anything.
For a living.
Yeah, pretty wild.
I like this environment because it is a cave that is also a dragon's mouth. This is one of the things I love about Eternia because there's just so many fun places. There's swamps and deserts and forests and castles and caves that look like dragon's mouths. Here's a set that's in progress. So once I have my sky and my ground plane and my basic structures, I can start adding in special elements, like in this case, boulders. When you throw a boulder in stop motion, it has to have a rig so the animator can move it frame by frame a little bit at a time. And if someone were to actually punch the boulder and the boulder would fall apart into a lot of different pieces, then every piece would need a rig so that they can animate all the pieces flying. So James Duffy, who's an amazing fabricator, has made a lot of beautiful boulders for me here. And we're ready to get them on the set and start pulling everything together really soon.
Me and Shelly have choreographed it. We have a scene. It's been cast out to whichever animator here at Stunt Puppet Pictures is going to do it. And we now have to go in and problem solve on how we're going to photograph these characters, 24 photos per second of animation. I'll be going in and I'll pose the figure, move it a little bit, take a picture. Move the pose a little bit more, move this guy a little bit more, take a picture. And if you've done it well, it has the illusion of life. It has the illusion of power, physics, gravity, breath. And that's one of the most thrilling parts of the process for me as an animator, is bringing these guys to life.
Is stop motion challenging? Yes. There's so many challenges. In fact, all of stop motion is a challenge. And so if you don't have a puzzle brain, then it's not going to be very fun. But if you have a puzzle brain like we have, then it's just so fun to dig into these challenges and find solutions.
Yeah, in every short we've created, you know, like if it's a porthole, or if it's a quicksand trap, or the interior of a castle, or all of the many things that, how do you make He-Man stick to Battle Cat when you're animating
How do you
him?
make He-Man reach his shoulder behind his
Right.
sword behind his back when his shoulder has a
When his
limited range of
biceps are
motion?
so huge.
It's got very big
It's
muscles.
really hard sometimes to reach things, right? And you know, we shoot at 24 frames per second, so there's a lot of pictures that you have to take.
That's 1,500 pictures for every short we make.
Yep, and that's if it works out. That's the other thing too, is we try to do things that are a little bit better than your average bear, right? Like we're trying to really make these things live and breathe and not just feel like toys, but the illusion of life. So we're really working hard. And if it's an unacceptable shot, we're doing it again. We're gonna go back and shoot it again.
You see how these characters might move and act and fight and defend each other in ways that was always in your imagination.
The flashes on the swords when they clash, the sound effects, it's all amazing.
Give it to our sound guy, Emmanuel Ferran. And what he does is he adds on all of the impacts and Foley and mixes the music together to really bring it to life. So every filmmaker knows the second you get those impacts and those emotional beats in there, your film improves 1,000,000%.
What's been incredible is that every time we challenge them with something new, whether it's a more complex story or new characters or a bigger fight scene, they've really risen to the challenge. We've been doing it for 5 years now. And so I'm so excited for the next stage of what they're able to produce.
Can't wait to see what Stunt Puppets does with the cartoon collection figures because we've all seen the show, we've all seen the cartoons, but you know, having them as stop motion animations, it elevates it a whole other level because it's actually using the figures. It shows off the articulation, it shows off what our figures can do.
So right now I've been working on the cartoon collection, artwork and packaging. It's been fun, you know, especially because they come with these really specific accessories that ties back to content.
And so for this year, we are really excited to bring Stunt Puppets back in to work with us on Cartoon Collection, our newest part of Origins. And I am so excited to introduce to you guys the world premiere of our first video this year, Pearl of Power.
No!